Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway, where you can shop online and get easy delivery or free pickup. Get the same prices, deals, and rewards as in-store. Shop the weekly ad, clip deals, and earn points at Safeway.com or in the Safeway app.
The new year in Colorado brings an opportunity to spiff up your ride. How would you like to sport a license plate that says boom or OMG, LOL? Or how about this one, Arlo? Bad Wolf.
Oh, that one has my name all over it. Those are some of the vanity configurations that you can bid for right now online. Some of them are sweet, like love snow, or your plate could send a different message entirely. Go away and crash.
That would definitely keep me from tailgating. The annual online auction for particularly desirable personalized license plates is a fundraiser for organizations that serve people with disabilities.
The auction closes at the end of the month, and you can find the link in our show notes. I'm Arlo Perez Esquivel.
And I'm Bazi Kanani. Coming up, teaching has never been an easy job, but for many working in Colorado's classrooms, the pressures are adding up.
And it was the kids that were really good, and everything else around it just made it almost impossible.
Then we meet some Denver musicians doing battle against their digital doppelgangers.
Just last week, I ran into someone and I was telling him about the band, and he was like, "You guys aren't AI?"
Plus, down and dirty at the National Western to learn about one particularly dangerous job in the rodeo ring.
You're not so much fighting the bull as distracting it, because it would not be much of a fair fight if you tried.
It's Tuesday, January 20th. Here's the news in Colorado today. You've heard that teaching is a hard job, or maybe you know it firsthand. Long hours, low salaries, and yet, according to a recent survey of Colorado teachers, those aren't the only reasons teachers are unhappy with their jobs.
Although we have seen some measure of improvement in some areas, the overall picture, adequate funding, respect for educators, and school safety, those still have quite a long way to go.
That's Kevin Vick, head of the Colorado Education Association, which has just released its 2026 State of Education report. CPR education reporter Jenny Brundine is here with more on what teachers say is just too much. Hi, Jenny.
Hi, Bazi.
So if we've long heard that teachers are overworked and underpaid, what stood out in this report is new.
I think what this year's report highlighted was really the cumulative effect. Different pressures stacking up. There's political pressure, big class sizes, mental health needs, and just the sheer amount of administrative work teachers are juggling.
To break down some of those things, let's start with what you heard from a teacher you interviewed in Fort Collins who embodies much of what's going on.
I love my job. I get to spend every day helping kids understand the world around them and develop critical thinking skills and just have a place where someone is happy to see them.
Despite all the pressures, she said she loves her job.
Yeah, that was Wendy Bergman, who teaches social studies at Rocky Mountain High School. There she was explaining why she does her job in the first place. And like most teachers, she deeply believes in the mission, but she also says it's really hard. Bergman describes the physical energy it takes to teach 90-minute block periods and then
to answer all the questions that the kids have and listen for things you might need to intervene on if they're like bullying each other, or paying attention to how many students are getting their work done, or who has questions, or whose parent do you need to email. Like, it's so much mental load. And then we start adding the fact that we're underpaid. Every year, the legislature is talking about cutting public education. That is when it adds just too much more.
Here she talks about how her friend Natalie, who left teaching, described it.
Natalie used to call it a sandwich because the middle was really good and it was the kids that were really good, and everything else around it just made it almost impossible.
So to go with that bleep sandwich analogy, what is that everything else around it?
Yeah, teachers say it includes the political environment. The report talked about the heightened nervousness teachers feel about what they can teach in class. As you know, there have been attacks on how history is taught, what teachers can say in class. Some feel pressure to self-censor. Bergman says she feels supported in her district, but she was shocked by stories like in Colorado Springs D11, where health textbooks arrived at some high schools with chapters about gender cut out.
To me, it just says that we're afraid to give our students information. And I will never be afraid of my students asking more questions or learning more information, because that is how they develop their own opinions, which is the ideal for me in my classroom.
The report also included another sobering statistic. Half of the teachers surveyed say they've been physically injured by a student.
Too many teachers have stories about this, sadly. Bergman talked about a school lockdown that happened after a social worker was seriously injured.
The social worker who was intervening ended up with a TBI and a broken collarbone because she was attempting to de-escalate the student. Our kids' needs, their mental health needs aren't being met.
Part of this problem is compounded by the fact that there's a shortage of mental health workers in schools. Fixing that and a lot of other issues that came up in this report would require more funding. 2 recent studies show that Colorado underfunds its schools by about $4 billion a year. The CEA, that's the state's biggest teachers union, is lobbying to put more money into the system. But as you know, state lawmakers are in another extremely tight budget year.
CPR education reporter Jenny Brundin. Thanks for your reporting, Jenny.
Thank you.
That improbably cute animal video, that photo of Pope Francis in a Balenciaga coat. Admit it, AI has fooled you on at least something recently, right? Well, it's not just our eyes that the computers are capturing, as our show's producer and occasional backup host, Mateo Schimpf, reports.
On top of all the other ways they've been faking us out, the bots are getting good at making music, too.
So in August, one of our fans reached out to us and let us know that there's another band using our name.
That's the voice of Caden Keys. He sings and plays guitar in the Denver rock band Velvet Daydream. Their doppelganger, the Velvet Daydream, is an AI creation.
So immediately after we found that out, we started freaking out. Like, what?
AI bands are flooding online streaming platforms, and it didn't take long before the 2 Velvet Daydreams started running into each other in real life. Here's human bassist Jude Fansteel.
There was a show we played where one of the promoters put the poster for the show on their social media, and the song they used on Instagram was a The Velvet Daydream AI song instead of one of ours.
Velvet Daydream, that's the human version, has been making music together since middle school. Their first full-length album, which came out in 2023, is titled, you guessed it, The Velvet Daydream.
Who stole all the money? Who's taking the prize?
The similarities between the human and AI versions of Velvet Daydream basically stop at a name.
Sounds like a beach house song.
Yeah, like Tame Impala or like George Harrison.
I think what's scary about it is that it doesn't inherently sound like AI. And I think that's where a lot of the controversy's coming. Like it almost, if you didn't know, you might not know it was AI. Like it almost sounds like humans.
When you make a choice, no voice left behind.
The AI version of Velvet Daydream hasn't taken away from the real band's listenership yet. They still have about 30 times the number of monthly listeners on Spotify, but there's a fear and evidence that it might.
There's a band that is ran by the same people that started the Velvet Daydream, and they made headlines last year about being an AI band that's exploding.
Dust on the wind, boots on the ground, smoke in the sky, no peace found.
That song, Dust on the Wind, is from the Velvet Sundown, and it has more than 4 million plays on Spotify.
Their bio reads that they are quietly spellbinding.
This is music YouTuber Rick Beato.
And uses these odd, unspecific metaphors so common in AI-generated text, like comparing the band's music to a scent that suddenly takes you back somewhere you didn't expect.
The presence and popularity of AI bands has led listeners to question the authenticity of real artists on Spotify. Velvet Daydream vocalist and guitar player Ryder King.
You can go down our comments, and every 10 comments will be, these guys are AI.
And the confusion is spilling out on the streets.
Just last week, I ran into someone, and I was telling him about the band, and he was like, you guys aren't AI? And yeah, now people are confusing us with being AI, which is really tricky when we're trying to go on tour and reach more people.
But Ryder said the band's biggest concern?
We were worried we were going to lose our name to the robot.
That's the fight they're in now. Caden said he asked Spotify to take down the AI version of Velvet Daydream 3 times before he got a response. And when the streaming service finally did get back to him, they told him that without a trademark on the name, there's nothing they could do. But getting something trademarked is easier said than done.
You select like what the trademark is for, what area of business, and then you wait like 8 months to see if they accept it or not. So we submitted ours back in like September.
And they're still waiting. The band's experience is part of the brave new world created by AI. Machines spitting out names, concepts, and music that can be packaged and sold with just a few lines of code, and with no regard to how it infringes on the work of actual humans. As artists, the guys are frustrated with the people behind AI bands, but perhaps more so with the streaming services. Here's Jude.
It's no secret that there's not a lot of money in music in general. Nowadays, a lot of that's getting siphoned by Spotify and other, distributors, what have you. And so to think that, those limited streams are funding AI artists rather than people that have infrastructures and overheads and tour schedules and bills is a little disheartening.
And Ryder said it goes beyond just the money.
We've got a new album coming out. We started that album in October of 2024. And it's 11 songs, right? Year and a half, 11 songs. And I think so much went into that process, countless nights, countless days, hours, minutes, whatever. And, the fact that someone can just put into their computer, I want an album that sounds like this, and it'll do it. It's just real, I don't know. It sucks. It feels a little unfair.
While they keep fighting this battle against their robot twins, Velvet Daydream is going on tour to promote their upcoming album, Smoke and Mirrors. It drops on March 28th.
It's not too late to take in a rodeo as part of the National Western Stock Show. The Pro Rodeo, held in Denver each January, is one of the largest on the international circuit. Yes, sir! When it comes to bull riding, the guy on the top of the beast isn't the only one putting his neck on the line. Once a rider loses his grip, it's the job of men and women in the ring to keep him from being trampled.
When the rider comes down off the bull, oftentimes they're not in the best position to just get up and run away right at that moment. So you're putting yourself in between the rider and the bull and making yourself the distraction for, as I'm explaining this, it actually doesn't sound very smart to do that. But.
Keenan Vine is a former bullfighter turned rodeo producer. He was at the National Western last weekend. Now, when I say bullfighter, you may think of someone with a cape and a sword, a matador. But in the rodeo world, it's actually a much different job.
It's the protector of the bull rider. So traditionally, the guys in the funny clown makeup and the big baggy pants running around out there, what they call the rodeo clown, has now transitioned into a very serious job of being the protector of the rider. So you're not so much fighting the bull as distracting it, because it would not be much of a fair fight if you tried.
Vine comes from a rodeo family. He got hooked on the sport early, clinging to sheep at mutton-bustin' events.
You start out on the junior steers, and you get a little shot of that adrenaline when you're 12 years old, and it's hard to kick it. And I've tried a lot of other sports and done a lot of other activities, and nothing really seems to compare to what you could do in rodeo and riding a bull, of course.
Vine is Canadian, but says the recent political friction between the U.S. and Canada hasn't really shown up on the rodeo circuit.
In rodeo, it's a community. And that's what we're built on. And Western, heritage and culture is about helping your neighbor.
That spirit of the West continues through this weekend at the Denver Coliseum. Tonight's theme is military appreciation. Reporting for today's show also came from CPR's Ryan Warner, and a hat tip to Dana Myers at Indy 1023 for turning us on to Velvet Daydream's AI problem. Be sure to follow Colorado Today in your podcast app, and when you have a minute, leave a review. I'm Bazi Kanani.
And I'm Arlo Perez Esquivel. This is CPR News.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway, where you can shop online and get easy delivery or free pickup. Get the same prices, deals, and rewards as in-store. Shop the weekly ad, clip deals, and earn points at Safeway.com or in the Safeway app.